We don't usually witness a scene like it was in the video clip in full. We might see hints of fear or dependence, and so there's a lot of careful questioning and assessment work that goes on, including assessment of capacity.
It's really hard to watch someone struggling like that, and I do think that probably in many of these cases, the perpetrator, the son, the person who's the abuser, also needs help. Isn't dealing and is stressed, but our focus really has to be on the safety of the older adult first.
Well, I think the biggest challenge that APS staff face when they're out in the field is that most referrals are made by third parties, not by the clients themselves. And so they're knocking on a door, and the person behind the door doesn't really know why they're there. We usually call ahead of time, but still, it's like, why are you here? Who sent you? We can't tell them who sent us. That's confidential. Right. So the first challenge is to get in the door. And once you do, it's very difficult to put together all the pieces: their medical health, their mental health, financial security. Is the apartment itself safe? Who else is in their life? What's their role? In this vignette, what we saw is not enough to believe a crime is taking place, but we would, try to be establishing a much larger pattern of abuse and neglect. And we also have in the Adult Protective Services law, in addition to a mandate to report to the police, it's discretionary to report to the district attorney's offices. And the question would be, how would this come to our attention? Who else is involved with these two in that home that would know enough to make a referral to Adult Protective Services and try to get her somebody to assist her and talk to her about it.
So, one way it might come to your attention is through a hospital. Social worker, although senior centers, hospital social workers, others, right, none of them are mandated reporters in New York. So.
That's right. Well, neighbors might refer to,
right.
But not mandated. And very often what happens is that the victims of the abuse, as you know, will deny what's going on.
And it's always an ethical dilemma, because even if he's mistreating her, she may still not want him to be removed from the house. Exactly. She may still not be willing to have her son no longer live with her.
Because it's so hard to get a client like this mother in this situation to enforce an order of protection against a member of the family. So they might, in a bad moment, say, yes, let's do that. But then when he comes home and he's having a good day, she's going to let him come in, And so getting an order of protection is something we do, but you have to really, question, is it going to be enforced and is it going to keep the person safe? And the things we can do in this situation, we would want to look at the finances. Is the rent being paid? Maybe he's using money for drinking, because it looked like he definitely has a problem with that. And so APS can actually get access to a person's Social Security benefits on an involuntary basis. So we would make sure her rent is paid and any medical bills and utilities bills. Also, another step that's much less intrusive is getting other eyes in the house. Like you had said, maybe VNS would have referred, but maybe she didn't have visiting nurse, but we could, refer for those services.
I think that too, that her willingness to seek help may be affected by her fear that he can really place her in a nursing home, that he has that power.
Right, and interestingly, with Adult Protective Services, one of the things that many people who are referred to us as clients fear is that what APS is going to do is place them in a nursing home. And that is actually the exact opposite of our mission. Our mission is to keep people safe in the community, and we're mandated to use the least restrictive measures. So we're never going to place somebody in a nursing home against their wishes. But if she really lacked capacity to understand, and if she was really at risk, if her health was at risk and her safety, and she didn't understand that that was the case, then what APS would do is to seek a community guardian. And that's a very lengthy court proceeding, because what you're doing is you're really taking away an adult's rights to make a decision for themselves.
Right. Yeah. But it's a long way from where this vignette is to guardianship. You would have to show incapacity. You would have to show that there's no one else who could intervene.
We do that. We look for collaterals.
Right.
And we're very lucky at New York City APS because as part of the Human Resources Administration, we actually have psychiatrists on staff so that when a caseworker goes out and believes that this person appears eligible for services and that there are questions of capacity, we can ask a psychiatrist to do an evaluation. So it's a huge support that we have. In terms of how long APS might keep a case open, there are no time frames in the law. So we will be carrying a case as open as long as the client needs help in the community. If there is a community-based organization that can pick up, if home care is all that's needed and the client can work well with the home care agency, then we'd monitor that for a while and we might close. On the other hand, for financial management, once we begin managing the money, that is a permanent case.
Right.
We may have, and we'll visit sometimes quarterly instead of monthly, but they need, the protection of having someone manage their money, then that case just stays open for as long as there's no one else to take care of that.
Right, right, and it's the same with guardianship. If a guardian gets appointed, that case never closes. They're always on task and making sure the person is safe. Yeah, and I think guardianship is at one end of the spectrum in terms of least restrictive alternatives. It is probably the most restrictive, and so there's a reason that you have to go to court and that you have to petition and you have to prove your case. But in this vignette, I think it could end up being a case where a guardian is needed, particularly if her health is at risk and she's unable to take care of herself. But yeah, the process is long. There will have to be proof offered and a judge will make a decision, and it's not necessarily a quick process. Here in New York, it can be a quite lengthy process. But it can be a good solution for someone who needs to be kept safe and who wants to stay in the community. The guardian too, though, has a mandate. Even once you have a guardian, that guardian is supposed to use the least restrictive sort of interventions that they can. So they're supposed to maintain as much autonomy as possible, even while serving as guardian. And that's the goal, is that even if you have to take that rather drastic measure, that you're still going to give that person as much autonomy as you can while keeping them safe.
And in fact, in the guardianship orders, what the judges do is they list the powers that the guardian has. And in some cases, it may be only financial. In other cases, it may be only medical decisions or, just day-to-day care in the community.